I didn't know that I was gonna be sitting talking to a bunch of illiterate people who don't know how to read, but
You're literally 15. What do you know?
Bro, you know how to read?
Yes, I do know how to read.
Name 10 books.
Are you serious?
Yes, 100%. Name 10 books.
Well, I read Game of Thrones. I'm obsessed with like the Twilight series.
Called?
Game of Thrones, the series?
What's the book called? It's not called Game of Thrones.
What book did you just say before that?
She's just trying to come up with a bunch of nonsense and she can't name any actual books.
Bro, shut up, kid! I'm sorry if I said the wrong thing. I was obsessed with the show Game of Thrones, and I started reading the book. Can you let me finish? Bro, can you shut up if I could talk?
That girl should be embarrassed she named Game of Thrones and Twilight series while wearing a shirt that says porn star. Please pray for her. It's so sad.
Do you think that selling your news online and the money that you make from that translates to any sort of intelligence or skill?
I have a degree.
A degree in what?
Philosophy. I could go onto grad school and become a lawyer if I wanted.
That's a good point. You could have become a very well-respected lawyer, had a good career. What do you think your kids are gonna think when they said, oh, my mom had two options? They could have been a philosopher and a lawyer who made a lot of money, but they decided to be an online for 2 years, and then when they got ugly, now nobody wants to hire them anymore because they ruined their name and their reputation.
I think it's not 1950 anymore, and people don't really think like this.
I think it's not 1950 anymore. Very astute of you. Now, if we could return to the conversation we're actually having. She is lucky that she didn't have to name 10 books.
This is just a reminder for men that scientists have now discovered a way for women to impregnate themselves using their own bone marrow, and the only child that can result from those pregnancies are female. So we no longer have any need for you genetically or physically. So, tread lightly.
That is not true at all. That's not even a little true. So put down the mascara, honey, and use your brain for a minute, if you have one. You actually think that women can impregnate themselves? And that isn't a big deal to you? Besides, if you don't need no man, as you suggest, then I sure hope you don't expect men to pay for your meals when you go out on a date. I hope when that check comes, you're reaching for it every single time. But as we know, classic thing, I have never heard of a feminist who remains a feminist when the check hits the table. That doesn't work, does it?
I'm terrified of these feminists becoming mothers. Imagine them raising their children to think that they don't need men. Absolutely horrifying thought.
Hot mom and a mini dress. Hot mom and a mini dress. Batty boss said no pants. Batty boss said no pants. Batty boss said no pants. Gen Z Slater. Whoop. Gen Z.
Rumor has it they're still on Tinder begging for a real man while stating they're fearlessly independent and support mental health awareness. And they're all 39 years old.
The dominant narrative in America is white people are evil, white people suck, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that we should take responsibility for the system that we've created.
The best system in the world?
Oh, we do not have the best system in the world.
Who has a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off than
Oh, you
us.
mean European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey. You don't mean Eastern Europe, the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America.
That response was too deadly for it to get a response from her. Pure class. America has a terrible system. Main two things is inflation and these weird-ass political and social movements.
Can you identify as a black person?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not black.
I'm not a woman, but I can identify as a woman according to you.
If you transition, maybe.
What defines a transition?
Like, if that's your goal, you know?
If you believe it.
Sure.
If you believe you're black, why aren't you black?
Well, that's just not, that's like genetics. That's like ancestry. Like, you're black, right?
You're also born a man or a woman. It's the same thing. That's also genetics.
Okay, I'm over it.
They hate hearing it because the truth is often too much to comprehend. Even the simplest, most basic logic or rationale will end their arguments or end up with them screeching and throwing a tantrum.
So I disagree with you. I think women want to be on OnlyFans because they enjoy being on. So I've interviewed so many workers, they just like it. They get off on being naked in front of men.
But the men are there to be in front of.
Yeah, but they're also there to be in front of when they walk outside. And I see this when I go to Vegas. Women just get naked on the street. I've never seen women fight harder for anything than the ability to be naked and the ability to be horny.
I'm not trying to blame it all on men, but at the end of the day, it is like a...
Even if there was no OnlyFans market, like women would still figure out. There's been escorts, prostitutes, that's like the world's oldest profession. That's always gonna happen.
Well, the business runs because of men. They are the customers. No customer, no business.
It sounds to me like you're conflating wokeism with feminism. Feminism is a rejection of patriarchy. That's all it is. The entailment of egalitarianism between men and women is a rejection of patriarchy. Who's the oppressor if you're trying to be equal with the opposite sex? Men are the oppressors. So it's a movement to reject patriarchal structures. That's what feminism is.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I would say it extends a lot beyond just that.
Yeah, but I think it's because you conflate wokeism with feminism. Feminism is simply put a rejection of patriarchal structures. That's it. If you're thinking about things like the destruction of the nuclear family, this type of thing, the nuclear family has a head. The head is the man. If you have the extended cross-generational family, that's also a patriarchal system. The head is the man. If you're talking about the dismantling of the church is patriarchal. Christianity is a patriarchal structure. It's the rejection of patriarchy across the board. The entire movement of feminism has nothing to do with egalitarianism at all. It has to do with dismantling patriarchy. That is what the ultimate goal is.
He hits on something really important here. A major hurdle is definitions. This is what it means to me. I have found before debating any lefty, you both have to pre-game it to define certain words or terms so you know what the hell the other is talking about. 'Cause half the time people make up their own definitions for words that are not accurate.
Feminism doesn't bug me, you know. It doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. You know, for the simple fact that I know it's gonna fail, you know? And I take comfort in that. I do. I'm not rooting for it because I know it doesn't like me.
Feminism is synonymous with misandry. Feminism will fail, but the consequences to the core family are massive.
Come towards you, that they target you?
Well, yeah, feminists, the reason I upset feminists so much is because the typical feminist tactic is to cancel somebody, right? To come at somebody and call them misogynist and call them all these things, and then that person loses their career or their slander. You can't slander me because I have fuck you money and you can't take it away. So I'll say what I want because I'm a realist, and when you're a realist, you're sexist. There's no way you can be rooted in reality and not be sexist.
Who are the primary victims of war?
I'll say women.
Why?
Okay.
How?
I mean, I guess the outcomes of going to war, like what happens with women and like cities that are invaded.
So let's assume military deaths are like nearly exclusively male. Like 99.99% male.
If you're cutting out civilian casualties to prove this point.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Then men.
but he can, especially since you're specifically looking at the United States. So, for instance, of the 292,000 members of the U.S. military who were killed by enemy fire, 16 of them total were female. 16.
Of the United States, yeah.
Total. 16 from the United States for all of World War II. All of it.
Today on Sigma Traits, make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. Support this channel through membership. You can also support through PayPal, link in the description. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.